But
We're the steps. Yeah, we need it. Okay, then I want blue. I have green and blue in there that I finally returned. Well, I don't see them. You see that? No, I was gonna say what we're gonna do, and then if it, however it's voted after that, then it goes to that person. Whoever, because right now it's still technically, I mean, so we'll just go through the first three, and then once I say we're gonna move D and F to after public comment, we'll go to public comment, and we'll get to D, E, and F, and then whatever comes. Yeah, he's gonna talk to me about, he's gonna do a quick update, and we're not gonna have a bunch of questions, and it's not that I'm trying to cut off speaking, it's that we need to stay on track. No, he's not, he's not doing this
yes, thank you, Chief. I was on it. I was looking. Okay, guys, it's 7 o'clock. We're ready to go. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, you guys. We are on our first town board meeting for 2020. Thank you guys for coming. Tonight, we have to go through this agenda, and it looks like it's going to be an easy-ish night. We might be home before 10 or 11 p.m. Approval for the agenda of January 23rd, 2020. So tonight we are removing, like we normally do, 10A Adam, 10B Boy, 10C Charlie, but D David, E Edward, and F Frank. We're going to move to after public comment. Okay, so D. Okay, go ahead.
I make a motion to approve as stated.
Second.
Yeah, but we're approving the agenda. So we're moving on this, you verbally have to move it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, you mean you put approving?
Yeah, we're on approval of the agenda. And so we're moving D, E, and F to after public comment, and so we're doing that now. I know, but I'm saying it so that we can just be clear.
Not clear to me.
Okay. Public comment. It's a non-action item, guys, so public comment. 3-minute time limit per person. Action will not be taken on matters considered during this time period until specifically included on an agenda as an action item.
John Boss of the OSTA. I would like to thank John Koenig, our BOCC liaison. When we were at the county meeting, we asked him to move item number 35 up, and he moved it up, and we left the meeting just before 4 o'clock. I just spoke to John earlier. He said he didn't get home until after 7 o'clock, and so he was at that meeting from 9 o'clock until almost 7 o'clock at night. I
when the school bus came by. And I've been thinking that the kids have a hard time, but man, it was horrible to watch. Those kids get off that bus, it's pitch dark. You see them in the headlights as they cross the street, and then they're gone. You don't see them. We need the town board, the bus drivers, and whoever runs the school to get together and come up with either a new bus route or, that system was set up before we changed our days, but now they're getting out that late at night. 6:20 at night, people are getting off work in Vegas and Pahrump, and that's about the time they're getting home. That's a 10-hour day, and there's these kids getting off these buses in pitch black, So we can't change time and go back and change it after the kids get hurt. This is way more important than a new building or playing in the park or something. If some kid gets hit, it's going to crush all of us. And I did a thing for streetlights. That's what this is about. That's a half-ass idea that I come up with. But we need to have something. Some of those kids walk. I didn't know this till this week either. Some of those kids walk 1.5 miles to get to the school bus. The route would take 10 hours if it dropped every kid off at their house. So these kids have to move a decent distance just to get to the bus. And not all of them get a ride home from the bus stop. They walk. We don't have street lights out here. We talked to NDOT about lights on the highway for the school bus, but that was in the daytime. They don't realize that we don't have street lights at night. And this is something this is our community. They're your guys' children, your children, in Paul's case, his great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren that are out there that could get run over, and we need to do something. Thank you.
Thank you, Lem. Oh, really quick, make sure you guys are stating your name, first, last name, spell it also, please.
Yes, James Atterbury, pastor of Amargosa Christian Fellowship, so that's Attebury. Our church will be having a memorial service for Sue Selvak on Saturday, February 8th at 11 a.m. So that's the second Saturday in February at 11 a.m. at Amargosa Christian Fellowship for Sue Selvak. And then afterward, we're going to have lunch at the community center to follow. So all of you are invited. Thank you.
Thank you. We're sorry to hear of her passing.
Hello everyone, my name is Tim Dahl. I'm the Public Works Director for Nye County. And I'd like to, it was brought up yesterday at the board meeting that you guys would like
action, election of vice chairman.
I nominate Carolyn Allen.
Second.
Okay, nomination for Carolyn. We have a first, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Trevor, aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Okay, so Carolyn, welcome to vice chairman. For possible action, election of town clerk.
I nominate Melanie Morales. Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to nominate Melanie, and we have a second. Melanie, you're shaking your head.
Can I deny nomination?
You can, and then you need to speak into the microphone.
You can say you're doing yes or no.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion from Carolyn, and I'm sorry, who was the second on that?
Pat.
Pat, okay. So all in favor or vote? Pat, aye. Aye. Trevor?
So Melanie's saying she's okay.
She'll take it, yeah, she'll take it.
Aye.
Okay. Aye. Okay. And Melanie, you abstain from the vote?
I abstain from the vote.
Okay. All right, so thank you, everybody. We're gonna move right along to 4, for possible action, discussion and deliberation to approve the minutes for December 19th, 2019, Amargosa Valley Town Board meeting. Okay, we're gonna go into the minutes. Anybody wanna make a motion? Discussion, what do you guys wanna do?
Oh, I make a motion we approve.
Okay, so we're on the minutes.
For discussion? Are we at discussion?
Yeah, she made the motion. Are you seconding so we can have a discussion?
Yeah, I'll second for discussion.
Second for discussion.
My discussion is just, thanks Christie for, again, putting my comments verbatim in there.
Thank you for
Just because I
sending
gave
it
them
to
to
me.
you digitally.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. Was that all your discussion? Nothing you wanted to change or anything, Mr. Trevor?
Yeah, that's fine.
We're good? Okay, so, let's vote. The minutes, anybody want to go over the minutes? Everybody happy with them? Do you guys read them? Okay, so Pat and Trevor did the motion and the second. All in favor? Aye.
Trevor, aye.
Okay. Aye, sorry. Okay. Mr. Dahl, you're going to be a little early tonight. Is that okay with you? It's a 7:20 presentation, but no, we have to wait till 7:20, huh?
Coffee break?
Okay, so I'm sorry, I have to wait that few more minutes.
Okay.
I was hoping we could. Mm-hmm.
I could have 7 minutes for public work.
It's 2020.
They have town minutes of the
You could do committee reports.
Yeah, we can do, well, we can go right here to fire department report. So fire department, it's not timed, so that one we can skip to.
Rich Flanagan, Fire Chief, that's F-L-A-N-A-G-A-N. The fire department report I have tonight is our year-end report for 2019. Last year we did a total of 177 runs, which we saw an increase of around 45 total runs from the previous year, 2018. The breakdown, you service in December, and they were recently used on a motor vehicle accident here on 95, and they worked out the way we expected them to. And then Pahrump Valley Fire Rescue donated 3 thermal imaging cameras to us, and then with the assistant of the county emergency manager and Nevada Department of Forestry, we have on loan a Type 3 brush truck that was loaned to us over the summer because we were extremely high dry condition and high red flag warnings for possible brush fires. And through the efforts of Captain Jensen and his hard work, all our turnout gear is now in compliance with NFPA standards. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, so because I know the town office report is going to be a little bit longer than a minute, human resources, can we jump down to that? And we'll come back to town office report after presentations.
Hi, Kurt Stengel, Human Resources, STENGEL. Our committee is one of your favorite, most cooperative committees, and it's our wish that the human resources policy that we ground through would be accepted by you and put to use. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stengel. I know that's not an easy job you're doing, and thank you for all of your hard work and your team's hard work this last year.
Yeah, can I add to that,
Yes.
Carmen? Yeah, we need to recognize the patience that the HR committee has had with us. We kind of gave them a rough ride last year. Yeah, we kind of need to recognize the patience we're getting from the HR committee. We gave them kind of a rough ride last year, or the year before, actually. Smoothed out a little bit last year. But they do a necessary and often unpleasant job for us. So thanks, Kurt, and your people.
Thank you, Trevor. Okay, it's your turn, Mr. Dahl.
Hello again, Tim Dahl, DAHL. I'd like to take an opportunity to talk to you guys a little bit about an event we had in Pahrump last year. It was a household hazardous waste collection day that was primarily sponsored by our neighbors at US Ecology. US Ecology came to the table with over $70,000 worth of equipment, manpower, vehicles, everything that it takes to collect hazardous waste and dispose of it where it needs to go, whether it's something that they could dispose of at their facility or whether it was something that had to go to a third party facility to dispose of. So we'd like to do that again, and US Ecology has volunteered to step up again and do that again for us in Nye County. So my thinking was that we could rotate this around from different communities over, annually, and the next community to get that, in my eyes, is Amargosa or Beatty. Now, in an effort to try to minimize some of the generosity that US Ecology provides us, I'd like us to all consider having a combined Beatty/Amargosa event in one area, and see what kind of comments or what kind of dialogue we have from that suggestion. So my thoughts are we had it in Pahrump. Now if we have it in, let's just say Amargosa, and Beatty participates in that as well because they're relatively close, and then we go to Tonopah the third year, round it back to Pahrump, and then go to Beatty on the alternate year. So we alternate from Amargosa to Beatty for, in between Pahrump and Tonopah. And if that's something that you guys are willing to do, I will flip a coin and we'll have it at either Beatty or Amargosa for the first year and take advantage of an opportunity for US Ecology to help us get rid of the hazardous materials that could be going to our landfill, is staying had 280 cars come through there in that 16-hour day. So it was all the 20 of US Ecology staff could do to keep those hazardous materials coming out of people's cars and into containers where they loaded them in a truck and hauled them out of there.
And I know just as town maintenance, we have stuff that we discovered last year in the buildings that were old and needed to go, and that was actually something we discussed where to put it, so that would be great. Right now, how does Beatty feel? Do they want it, I mean, how are they moving towards, do they want it there or here?
I think the thought of having it at the alternate community was amenable to them as well, so it was as if the flip of the coin was okay with those guys too.
What kind of time frame are we looking at?
They were talking about having this event in early April. So not quite, when it's cold, not quite when it gets real hot. So I want to kind of give those guys that are working out in the trenches a little opportunity not to be overheated. So that was the thought, second or third week in April of this year. So again, I'm really, really excited. I think US Ecology coming to the table is such a blessing for us to have. And that's not something that they're required to do. It's something that they want to do to help our community. So kudos to them.
If we can get a date as soon as possible, we can get the word out and what we're looking for and just before Amargosa days.
If it's, that's what I'm looking at actually. We have a wedding in the community on the 18th, which is that third Saturday, but are you looking at weekend or are you looking at during the week?
Well, the last time we had it, it was on a Saturday, so it kind of gives people an opportunity to come in on the weekends and clean out their garage, and that was our thinking with last year's event. It was held on Saturday.
Okay.
Primarily, it was all day, but
Right.
I can't see those guys, sticking around if there's not any activity.
Okay, so for Amargosa right now, and I'm not saying we're making a motion, we'll talk about this again in February, but April 11th, right now, Miss Christie, is April 11th an okay? Because the 18th, there is a community wedding, and then the very next weekend is Amargosa Day, which I've already given you those
Right.
dates. But if, we'll talk about it again, but April 11th is around a decent day for our town.
Is that Saturday?
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. I will, if that's the pleasure of the board or the community to.
Yeah, she's gonna check right now just to double check. That way you at least have a date that, we're not saying, we're not voting on it, but at least you have a date to work with.
Sure.
We can set a date without board action.
Yeah.
But while we've got a minute, please, Mr. Goff, could you say something about waste oil?
Well, I'm not sure what you want me to say. We do take waste oil at the county. We have waste oil heaters at all of our shops throughout the county. So we do accept waste oil at our road department in Pahrump, Tonopah, and Beatty. I believe it's 5-hour increment or 5-gallon increments that they'll accept over here at a time. And it's from 3:15 to 3:45 Monday through Thursday. Other than that, that's part of what this is about too, is getting rid of our waste oil at a collection facility that it's meant to go in and not our deserts or our yards.
Thank you, that's precisely what I had in mind.
You're welcome.
Did you have a spot in mind? I'm sorry, you gave a spot here if you were to come here?
Well, my thoughts were right in this vicinity right here. I just want to make sure that we have a centrally located place for these guys to bring in semi-trailers and to set up tents so that they can analyze all the different chemicals that may not be identified in the containers that they come in. And it worked out relatively well. We probably used a 300-foot square section in the Pahrump landfill where we did this. Although, like I said, the cars were funneling in from Mesquite too.
Okay. So according to the town calendar, we actually have a quinceañera that Saturday. So that's the 11th. There's a wedding the 18th, and Amargosa Day is the very next weekend. So
First week in April?
It says that there's a wedding. Sundays are pretty free, but you've got Easter on the 12th. So if you want to do a Sunday, you could do the 5th or the 19th.
to organize.
Why don't we flip the coin for Beatty since we have so much going on
Yeah.
in April? And then for 2021,
We just mark out a
make
date
sure
for
we
you.
mark out a date in April.
Yeah, because it looks like there's only one day in March, and if that's too early in the year, yeah, we look sorry about that. We're
Okay,
gonna have to.
2021 it goes to Tonopah. 2022 it goes to Prom. 2023 it comes back to Amargosa.
It's still close.
Yes,
Yeah, it is. It's just a 30-minute drive, so.
One of us is going to have to drive.
and again, that's in an effort to try to minimize the enormous cost in my eyes that U.S. Ecology is putting out. And those guys have said they'll have 15,000 events, but I don't think it's fair to ask that much of them. I mean, they're being really good neighbors in my eyes to commit this kind of commitment to us. So if you're okay with having it in Beatty, I will start finalizing the details for that, and there'll be flyers that come out. Flyers will have a date, a time, the chemicals that you can bring in, the chemicals that we don't want to see show up. And I'm not saying this officially, because it's off, but we do try to take into consideration that some of those things that are on the do not bring list will show up. Some people don't read the flyers, they didn't see the flyers, so we're going to, like we did in Pahrump, make provisions to try to get rid of everything that comes in and not turn anything back out to somebody's garage, the desert, our landfills, etc.
So, it sounds like maybe 2020 will be Beatty's year.
2023? Oh, wait, 2020.
2020
Gotcha.
would be Beatty's year.
Okay.
Anybody else contest that? Yeah, we're booked until May, and then it gets too hot.
Okay, so is it just because you're having an event here, or do we want to pick another place that we think it might
You
work?
could pick another spot if you know of the best spot with the vehicles, the sizes, the load, the traffic. If we're going to have people from Beatty and Amargosa lined up, if you can come up with an area, that's fine. The building, the park are busy those days.
Is there something off on Valley View, because that would be conducive to Beatty and
Valley View,
Between
Well, the county has again, it's a BLM free use permit that we have out there at the end of Amargosa Farm Road.
but would it take certain vehicle sizes?
What about the staging area that we had for Area 51 down on 373? Would that work?
I believe that's BLM property too. I'm not sure whose that is. Perfect scenario would be to have it on.
Online too. We have the arena and the parking lot. Yeah. So the arena at least has is a 2-driveway area into a huge parking area, and so at least you can drive through that. There is many water boxes along the way in case there's a situation. I'm not saying water solves the problem, just saying there is something there. We have the fire department right here, but there is an arena with a very large parking lot and 2 driveways that you can send people in and out.
Let me familiarize myself with that location and see if it logistically would be conducive to having semi-tractors and lots of people in.
Yeah.
And that's a town of Amargosa.
Yes,
property.
and I can show it to you because there's a lot of area we can clear as well. Like
It's
there's
right over here, right?
There's some brush and stuff piles that we can get rid of as well to make that space bigger.
Is this a way for me to clean the lot up for you or something?
Hey, don't throw out, no, just it's a space. So if, I totally forgot about that space and we can use that as well. The arena and the parking lot, the in and out. And there's an announcer's booth, so there's a refrigerator, there's things in there. People can get shade, get cooled off. We can sign in spots. Yeah, there's a lot of things there that are an option.
So it sounds like we're back to the flip of the coin and see where.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
Never
Let's,
been.
the arena at least has nothing to do with the community center and the park on those days. So we can go right back to April 11th.
Does anybody have a coin? Let's just flip it right now. I mean, Beatty's on board. I mean, they have no objections to having it here or there. So somebody wants to, I don't have
say that I have a lot of friends in Pahrump that took advantage of this, and they thought it was fantastic. I mean, they had years of accumulation that they got rid of. So thank you for bringing it to us and pushing for it to come out here. I think that's great, and great for US Ecology to do it.
You're welcome, and I'll pass that on to US Ecology. I'm very proud of how that event went last year, so I'm very proud of that.
Also, if you have when you have the flyer, if it can be in English and Spanish.
Sure.
Okay? That would be very helpful for our community.
All right, great. Any other questions?
Any questions? No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have another timed event at 7:40. That's some positive stuff coming out of our valley. Want to give a few awards to some people and volunteers, but we're gonna go to a cemetery committee report instead. So it's killing a few minutes. No pun
I'll say
intended.
something on cemetery. It was brought up at the last meeting about how we had taken out all the trees. At that time, they had a horticulturist with the Nevada Department of Forestry. And she had come out and we had come up with a plan and she was working on a grant to get this done. Unfortunately, she left. We did have on the agenda to put in irrigation and it was voted down. And I think that was about a year ago as well. I've just been contacted that this lady has been replaced and that he is looking into the possibility of a grant. But he just started last week and it's probably going to be a few more weeks before he gets his feet wet and can get back to us about whether or not we have a grant or are we going to have to pay for this ourselves.
Thank you, Pat, for the update.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. I wasn't on the committee back then, cemetery committee back then, but I can explain that all the Arizona cypress over where I live on Tamarack are dead or dying. It happens. It's an unfortunate choice of tree because once it's stressed, it's vulnerable to the beetle, and once the beetle gets in, you're pretty much done. But I don't want to get too far ahead of the cemetery committee. I don't think there's any of them here, right? But yeah, hopefully we can push on this. Those people out there are patient. They'll wait for their trees when we figure out a solution.
Thank you. Well, hopefully something soon. I know I still have to give you a business card for Red Rock Audubon. They have offered to help with trees. So even with a grant, we can still come up with outside help.
I went to their meeting last Saturday. They didn't say a word to me.
Which one? The Red Rock Audubon?
Red Rock Audubon.
Okay, this was during the Conservation District meeting a couple months back. So, but I have the cards and the information for you.
They had food at their meeting.
And Trevor was there. Okay, 7:40. So we wanted, in 2019, it was discussed every single month of 2019 how to thank our town, the volunteers, the businesses, because without the hours and the donations and the time, I already said time, but we couldn't do some of the events. Amargosa Day is 4th of July, the first year Harvest Festival, the Christmas dinner, and that's just the main events. That's not including the everyday little things that get done around here. The cemetery being cleaned up, I know that the academy, not the academy, but NDU has helped with that. So we just want to thank a couple people. They're not here, but at least we're going to go through these plaques really fast, and we're going to make sure these plaques are handed to them this next week. So, Ms. Carolyn.
The first plaque goes to Martel Market, of course, mining. The senior center is here. First Solar, Rich Flanagan, and the Amargosa Valley Fire Volunteers, and Bruce Jensen.
So will the fire department and chief and senior center please come up and we're gonna continue to thank people. December was voted the month of appreciation, so this kind of got pushed into January, and we thank you for your patience. It's been, 2019 has been quite a year, and so we just want to make sure these people understand that we are beyond grateful for all the work and time that they've given to Amargosa Valley. Okay. We are now on to, I'm sorry we jumped around so much, but now we're gonna go back into order. Number 7, Town Office Report. For possible action, discussion, and deliberation, motion to approve the invoices for payment and approval letters for signatures.
Oh, you guys wanna, she's gonna give the reports.
All right, we instituted every 2 weeks we're doing an accounts payable meeting, and that's gotten all of our invoices into even faster and getting paid faster than 60 days. So this January 2020 Amargosa Valley Town Board invoices for approval. They were approved last week. They are all entered. Even the recurring ones that I can enter as soon as I get them, I'm still putting them onto this spreadsheet so that you can review them. Anything that says recurring, those are, I can put in as soon as we get those. Let's see. I have signatures for 2 Purcell Tire invoices. They need to go in and have a check prepared before we get the tires put on the truck. The next report is the petty cash report, and in the last 4 weeks we've actually gotten $5,875 from Curaleaf. They deposited this month 2 deposits, one of $26.55 and one of $14.70. And then there's expenditure reports follow, and the revenue reports follow. Tomorrow, Melanie and I are working on journal entries. We're starting the budget worksheets, and we're filling out the Amargosa Valley Days health permits.
Discussion, deliberation, motion to approve invoices for payment and approval letters for signature. Right.
I make a motion we approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion from Pat and a second from Melanie. Call for the vote. Further discussion? Is there further discussion?
Yes,
Okay.
I have a problem with the AT&T telephone EMC center of $121.97. We should not be paying any more than what we pay for the fire department and the office. That is, the EMC center is part of the town complex. And they were, in AT&T, we only approved $26.90 for that payment. So there's something wrong. I know that this came up before, and they actually turned off the telephone. We did get it turned back on and had to change the number, but we shouldn't be, as I said, it's part of the town complex, and we should not be paying, triple or quadruple what we're paying for the office and the fire department. So if that could be looked into.
Okay, I'll follow up on that.
And that's the only thing.
Thanks for catching that. Pat, that question bounced around quite a bit last year. Why that's so expensive and why that's handled separately.
Didn't have this month since July and August? We had this
you
Melanie
second.
was the
Melanie
second.
was the second.
But let me understand, we're pulling that one item.
We're gonna,
Is that right? We're gonna pull it or go ahead and pay it, but challenge it?
Pay it, but look into why.
yeah.
Find out.
I like the idea of paying it and then challenging it.
Because even
Right.
if it's in our favor, it's a credit. It's a credit in the end, which we
Yeah.
found out a lot of that in July, August, September. We had some problems with
Because
ATC.
we don't want it turned off again.
We don't want it turned off and changing the number again.
Right.
Okay, so we have the motion to approve, to pay it, look into it. Second, you wanna second that? I second.
Not on the vouchers only, or is that including the letters?
We are actually, it's including the letters as well. So are you motioning to approve the invoices for payment and approval letters for signature?
Yes.
Okay. The letters are the same letters we send. We have to send every single month when they pay the bills. It's the same letter every month. It's like a cover sheet. It goes with the bills. It says the same thing every month except it's a different date. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. We have any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Trevor, aye.
Carol and I.
Aye. Aye. Okay, Miss Christie, it says here expenditure report, but you kind of already went
Yeah, I kind of went
over
over
that.
that.
Okay, we're going to 8C, Planning Committee.
John Foster, Chair of the Planning Committee. At our last meeting, the county was helping us with doing the word, and the county of Cheryl is no longer able to do that for us. So on January the 30th, I'm going to go over to planning, and she's going to show us how to do that in Word. Last week I bought an unpackaged zip drive so that she can put it on a zip drive for us. And then we will have to take over doing the rest of the editing ourselves as the committee. And that's the only thing that we had on the last agenda.
Okay, and that was Cheryl, you said? From
Pardon?
Cheryl
Cheryl Beeman.
Beeman in planning, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senior Center?
C.J. Wissmiller, Wissmiller. First of all, thank you to the board for your acknowledgement and your appreciation, and back at you for supporting the senior center. We appreciate it greatly. I'll reiterate that again later. My report on mail served for December. It says November in the report, but it is December. We provided 275 mails to seniors, 56 in guests. Again, that is an breakfast on the 29th. It will be at the senior center, and we're going to have homemade pancakes and scrambled eggs and sausage links, and we'll provide drinks. I hope everybody comes out for that. They do. It's from 9 o'clock until 11 on the 29th, and we are titling it Leap Year since it's on the 29th. So leap on over. How's that?
Leave on over.
Leap on over for pancakes. We will be closed at the center on February 17th for President's Day to celebrate that.
CJ, do you guys do anything for Valentine's Day?
We have breakfast on Valentine's Day,
Okay.
but outside of that. I'm sorry?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Sounds like things are going really good. Okay, maintenance report.
We don't have a printed report. We don't have a report this month.
No report for tonight from maintenance, okay? Board member comments. Does anybody want to start? Which end? Trevor or Carolyn? Okay. Oh, he's signing something. Okay, Carolyn, let's start with you tonight. He's signing some stuff.
Okay, we had a CIP, a capital project workshop that was, in my opinion, excellent. And I think the feedback was fairly good. I think people want to, the momentum's going and we need to move forward quickly. We had 29 people there. We ate. We had a professional facilitator with 30 years experience. She kept it moving. We broke up in groups. We identified what we call the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities for the community, and possible threats. I'm going to be putting all that information out, and we're getting it together. And of the 29 people, I'm going to split those people into groups with a point person. And a board member is only going to be in a group kind of like as a liaison. Because this is your community, folks. This is your budget. And we want to do it our way, is what I keep hearing. So this is our opportunity to do that. The next one, I'm thinking of February 19th. I put it out to the facilitator to see if she's available. But in between then and now, I want to get these groups together. And I'll be making phone calls and trying to make that happen expeditiously because we need to get working on it. We need costs. We need your ideas, costs, things like that. And these groups are going to get together and do goal statements based on the 5 or 7 things that the group came up with that are social problems and monetary problems that the community is facing. So we want to get this budget together. We want to do it our way, the right way. And maybe we won't have anything to complain about. Wouldn't that be wonderful? So I would like to check the calendar for February 19th. I think I've already done that, but everybody else.
Okay. So
Give me
February
7 days.
19th is a Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay. So this would just be another workshop.
Yes. But it would, and we're breaking up into groups. And these groups, I want you guys to meet prior to the 19th. Yes, Len?
I know some people that want to be in the capital workshop, but they got kids. Can we do it on a Friday when there's no school?
I'm fine with that.
So-
You see saying Friday, because we would have had more people, which would be the 21st. I'm fine with that, and I'll send that message to Lou. Even if she has a problem with it, we can still move forward.
Okay, so yeah, Lab was asking about a Friday instead due to scheduling conflicts of the last one. So that would be February 21st, which is the weekend of the Front Balloon Festival in Pahrump Festival. So we'll have to look at that as well. does anybody?
I'm okay with either one.
Mhm.
And
I think Fridays right now would be easier, but it's very easy to do Fridays if they're Wednesdays too.
But you're talking about getting the community involved. Friday is when people want to get away for the weekend. And I just don't think Friday is a good day.
So we've actually had quite a few people call in about Fridays, asking if things could happen on Fridays now. So the only way we can do it is just try it and see what comes of it. Wednesdays are hard for some people because yes, the bus is due to sports right now, but I don't think sports ends until right around this same time. And kids are not getting home until 6 or 8 o'clock at night, depending on their games and practice and things like that. And if those families can't come here till then, that makes it difficult. Fridays are there's no practice, there's no game, there's no buses that night. So, and we could actually, if it's on a Friday and people are off, we might be able to go a little earlier, or 7, it's 5, we can work around that.
Well, it can't be, because if it's Friday, we've got free reign, but nothing before 6 o'clock. We learned that with the last workshop. Kids were in here playing basketball.
Oh, but Fridays, there's
Nothing
nothing
on Friday, yeah.
is happening on Fridays.
We had somebody ask if we could move the board meetings to Friday.
Right, we'll talk about that one.
No,
Yeah, for
same.
sure. It's an idea someone brought up. Okay, so Friday, February 21st for a workshop. Can we just pencil that in? Do you have the calendar still, Ms. Christie? Again, this is just a workshop. Okay, so we're going to try for February 21st, penciling it in as of tonight's conversation. Okay, anything else, Carolyn?
No, thank you.
Thank you for all that work. Miss Melanie?
No comments.
Okay. Mr. Trevor?
yeah, I guess we're on board member comments.
Yes, board member comments.
I got missed.
Well, you were signing the papers. Yep.
Anyway, future events. I'm slowly coming to the conclusion that most people don't want to read the books that I read. And many don't even want to hear a report on the books I read. I was heartened to discover this month that one of my friends was reading the same book that I read last month. But anyway, it's about Nevada government. And I learned that in 1996, the Nevada Constitution was revised, imposing term limits, and that the term limits for local elected offices was different from state elected offices, the governor and so forth. But since you guys don't want any more book reports, I'll keep to myself what it said about term limits. I recently read that in 2010, there was a big event in Amargosa Valley. I kind of remember 2010. I was here. I think Brent Jones was fired in 2010. I think Joseph DeLee died in 2010. What I recently read was that a woolly mammoth was discovered in Amargosa Valley in 2010. Those anthropologists or paleontologists do what they do. They boxed it up and hauled it away. They didn't ask us. I'm hoping somebody can tell me where they found it. I could go up and have a look. I think a set of woolly mammoth tusks would look cool on the front of my car. But I have a name of an anthropologist, so I'll be following this up, and maybe we can find out where our woolly mammoth went. Tonight, we're going to set a time and date for a hearing on the room tax ordinance. I'd like to see a time and date set for our first budget workshop in February. We don't need board action for that. We can just set a time and date. And you just saw we got a time and date set for our next capital project workshop. And it'd be great if Lou could come back. If not, we can carry on. Pat and John and I were at the county commissioners meeting but now they've put a name on it, cost sharing. I spoke about this last June in board member comments. We'll be hearing more about this from the county, I'm sure. Oh, a document has recently surfaced, Amargosa Town Board Resolution 2013-01. John Boston and I are both keenly interested in this resolution. This past year we've been not abiding by all of the provisions in this resolution. I think we'll be hearing more about that. Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you, Trevor. Oh, Pat, sorry, I thought you were going.
Well, about the woolly mammoth, I read that it was in the valley somewhere and it was being kept top secret. I mentioned, I think last meeting, that there are 4 electric car charging stations down at the corner of 95 and 373. It turns out that they do not charge, the charge is not for Tesla, it's for 2 others. However, I contact Tesla, and all new Teslas, you'll be glad to know this, John, come with a adapter. So this adapter can be put into one of these chargers, and Teslas can be charged there. Supposedly, there will never be a charge for this because it's on government land. I can't, that's what I was told, I can't prove it. We are not considered a rural community. We're considered a frontier community, and this was brought up at the BOCC meeting yesterday. And that can mean different things for different projects that we might want to go forth with. I also think that we really need to look at our current budget. We need to augment particularly the salaries because there's not enough money to cover some of the salaries. And so that's something that we need to get with finance and look at how we can augment or do an augmentation. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Pat. I know just really quick on some tusks that were found in the last 3 years, but they were in Ash Meadows playground, and that was actually founded by a Amargosa resident, and then they were cut out. Everyone was roped off, and the way you could get in to help with the paleontologist was if you paid $5,000 or $6,000 to spend the day there. So, and that was actually in the paper and in some different articles throughout the valley that people printed, and it was on Facebook.
So there was a big splash, I just missed it.
Yeah, but it was in the last 3 years. So I'm not sure about now, maybe there was something in 2010, but I know in the last 3 years, someone from Amargosa found some, but Ash Meadows said, this is our land. All the people came out and then kicked the resident out, and you had to pay money.
Yeah, like Pat said,
Yeah.
these people are real tight-lipped.
Carolyn and Diane Brigham and Lou and her team, because that was an amazing capital project workshop with a lot of positive feedback, a lot of positive people working together, and it was actually really cool to see everyone kind of on the same page. It seems like a lot of us agree with a lot of things, and we actually just need to keep putting our best foot forward. I want to thank Pat for her time as the town clerk. She has been the town clerk for the past, how many years now? 3 years. And in December, she has stepped down, and this year with 2020, we have a new town clerk. So thank you to Pat for all of your help and guidance and getting this stuff done, especially in the middle of the night when everybody else was sleeping. I think that's it for board member comments. Now to general business. We're going to skip right on down to G for possible action, discussion, and deliberation. Town inventory of capital assets requirements pursuant to NRS 354.107, NRS 354.594, NRS 354.625. Action requested is to get this ball rolling into discussion? Motion,
I make a motion
Pat,
as
and
stated.
I'll second with discussion. It's a big job. I've gotten involved in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all got to pull together on this one.
okay, Carolyn, go on. Sorry, we had to make the motion.
Okay. It is a big job, and I think I'm going to ask for some volunteers to help, another set of eyes that aren't involved in the day-to-day, like maintenance, kind of putting like a chicken in the hen house. And I'm not saying anything bad, it's just they see the stuff every day, and everybody's got an opinion, so I would like a lot of community involvement in this because it is a huge job. And if we want to move forward with anything, we need to have this done.
There's lifting involved when you get.
The inventory of the town, with the exception of the, or did I say a year and a half ago? With the exception of the garage, which was done, I believe, about 8 months ago with Josh. Also, the fire department was doing their own inventory because they know what their stuff is and what it's named. And I do not know if that's been turned in. There were 2 connexes that could not be entered because they were so full of stuff. So those 2 connexes are not done. Where those reports are, they should be somewhere in the office. I have duplicates if they can't be found.
We also have pictures as well and email, just of things that myself and Bruce went through to when we were trying to look things up. So there's pictures as well.
It's a good time too to throw crap away. There's stuff in that Connex
Yes.
boxes that belongs in the landfill.
And some of the stuff was because I did get permission from the town board. If I felt something was absolutely useless,
Yeah.
that it could be given away, donated, or sold. One of the things we sold was
The Zamboni, yeah.
Zamboni?
Zamboni.
Zamboni, okay.
Yeah.
And again, we made about $4,500 on it. We probably had, I'd say, 8 to 10 computers that we donated, and the person that got them made sure that they were completely wiped out, and wiped any information that might be on them, and then he was going to. I think somebody wanted keys, the letters and numbers, and I think he might have donated the board, the keyboard to people. But again, and I think that's pretty much what we sent out. But there's a lot, I know that there's a number of things that the fire department has that might be donated or given away or sold.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for all that. Carolyn, anything else you want to add before we move?
The only thing is the capital assets for this inventory, it's those $3,000. Not every little thing, but it gives us a chance to go through and get rid of things and donate and all. Aye. Aye.
Aye. All right. Letter H, for possible action, discussion, and deliberation, set a date, time, and location for a public hearing to amend Amargosa Valley Town Ordinance Number 2, adopted November 17, 2016, by repealing the former Article 3, transient lodging business license tax, and adding a new Article 3. Do we want to make a motion for discussion?
Yep, that's my item. I'll make a motion that we set a time, date, and place for a hearing to revise the room tax ordinance.
Okay.
A second, please.
Second.
Okay, open for discussion. Trevor, you want to go ahead and...
Yeah, there's a lot of background, and I'll just fly over it if I can. And thanks, we've got some Long Street people here. Thanks for coming out. Anyway, this goes back 20 years before we were an elected town board. The room tax is a common thing, and it's been here since Long Street's been here. But it was set up by the county back then.
see if we can make everybody happy.
Okay. Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Boston.
I'd like to read a statement. At the last town board meeting, December 19th, during the public comment period, I made a statement in rebuttal to Kurt Thomas that I had been informed by the chairperson of the Amargosa Valley Advisory Board in 2000-2001, Nye County brought legal action against Longstreet for non-payment of 2 or more years on the room tax. On December the 23rd, Jim Marsh called me and informed me that the statement about the litigation by Nye County about the room tax was false and requested an apology. I apologized to Jim Marsh for my statement about the litigation against Longstreet for not paying the room tax. The room tax had been paid, according to Mr. Marsh. However, November backup information of June 20th, 2000, agenda item 11 o'clock a.m. implies that all proceeds had not been remitted to the county or to the town. The statement in the backup is a quote from that backup. Taxes have been collected under existing room tax ordinance. However, not all of the proceeds have been remitted to the county or to the town. The amended bill will establish criteria for distribution of the room tax collected in the past 2 years, as well as the current year and future collections. The proposed distribution will be allocated at 60% for economic development and 40% for furtherance of the Amargosa Valley Park and Rescue. And so I hope this clears up the item. On November the 17th, the Amargosa Town Board amended Bill number 2016-01, Ordinance number 2, replacing the BOCC Ordinance of 228. I suggest that the amended Ordinance 2, Article 3, subsection 1A1, subsection 3A, and subsection 7.1, and then this way you can do exactly the same thing as county code, and the money will automatically go into those funds. And therefore, there would be that, if you take a look at it. In 2019, a report that was sent to me showed that there was $100,000 had been paid in room tax. And so when you take a look at this, about 1/3 of that money could be put into an account for the ambulance, which would be roughly $30,000 a year. And once you establish the ambulance, I think that would help the town finance the ambulance. That's my recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bassa. We'll have that further conversation on the workshop day. Mr. Lab.
The time to squeeze a business isn't after they're already here, it's before they come in here. I'm a strong believer that taxes get earmarked to where they go somewhere, and once they're there, they're there. I mean, we don't want another board 10 years from now to change things. And if we set a precedence that we change things to the only guy in the freaking valley who's paying
That's news.
I sincerely hope it's really bad news.
That's information that's
Because
first
as
I'm
you
hearing.
said, when you keep poking a bear long enough, the bear is going to eventually bite.
Absolutely.
We do want an ambulance out here, and it's not for Longstreet, it's not just for our employees, it's for the entire community. We deserve it. The paramedics that took all those 10 months worth of classes and put out the time and the effort away from their families, for our community that have now left our community because they couldn't get jobs as ambulance drivers. Now we're looking for volunteers all over again before we lose the opportunity to even have the ambulances here. With that being said, we need to pick and choose what our priorities are. If you want to move here and bring families, we should be able to give them safety when they need it.
Thank you, Morgan. Okay, this is just to set up a date, a time, and location for public hearing. Mr. Voss has brought up the word workshop. We have a motion from Trevor and a second from Pat.
What's the date and the time?
I know.
Any discussion on it?
So you guys need to, Christy, if you're gonna use this building, we gotta check with Christy.
Can you help me, Christine?
Yes.
And we've already got one workshop and one town meeting in February, and I'd like to have a budget workshop in February. What do you got?
How about like any Tuesday or Wednesday in February?
Okay, so Christy, you're saying Tuesdays or Wednesdays in February?
Or we could do Friday again too, like we could do Friday the 7th of February, Friday the 14th of February. Sounds like Fridays are
So
open to people.
the 14th is of course Valentine's Day, so since that's a holiday for some or birthdays for some.
Why don't we say the 7th or the 28th? Those are Fridays. That would be 2 Fridays.
How about
in a
the
row.
13th of February? I know that's a Thursday. No.
13th is the
That's the
Alan Bigelow Town Hall meeting
town
for
hall
Sam
for
Peters.
Congressman.
But we could do Thursday the 6th or Thursday the 7th, or Friday the 7th.
Okay, I will not personally be here those days.
Okay. Why don't we do it early?
The 6th or the 7th?
I will not be here, those are my sister's services.
What about
The 13th, was that a problem for somebody?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the town, there was something going on in this building that day.
Okay.
the town hall for, yeah. We could do it on Wednesday, the 12th, the 12th or the 19th or the 26th.
Does February, okay, so we already have February 28th, I'm sorry, 21st.
February 21st is the workshop for the capital projects, and the 27th is the town board
The
meeting.
board meeting, correct. Okay,
So
so,
we could do it,
19th is BFCC. It's usually over 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, right?
so you're saying the 12th?
How about the 12th?
I like 12.
The 19th is a Wednesday. BOCC is on a Wednesday this month, next month?
It's funny in February.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, we're saying February 12th.
I like it.
Lab, you have to come to the microphone, bud. Lincoln's birthday that day.
We have a hard time getting a turnout to these things. I mean, you're gonna schedule 2 a week, you're gonna get nobody. I mean, this is,
That's what I'm looking at, is there's one every single week of February. So if you're looking at time crunches, we can move it to the beginning of March, but if people are worried about time and trying to get it into the budget and you want, we can try for the first week in March, and at least it's a new month, but
You mentioned budget, yeah. So we need to kind of sort the room tax thing out before we go into a budget workshop. I still like the 12th. Lab's right, that it's a lot to ask for citizens to come out every other week for town government, but it's work we need to get done. Sorry.
I think the budget workshop part of it too can be capped on to the CIP. I think it kind of marries together, it just kind of complements each other too.
You can put them both on the
workshop, then you've got some numbers, and then you move right on into your budget workshop.
So you're talking about doing the public hearing on one night and the budget with it right after?
Well, I think the public hearing should happen
Because that's what the work.
freestanding, all by itself, because then you've got, whatever's gonna happen.
Are you talking about then capital workshop and budget
And
that
budget
night?
workshop,
Okay,
yeah.
so that's two things on the 21st.
Yeah.
And then BOCC is the 19th, town board meeting is the 27th, so you still want to try for the 12th, Trevor? I mean, you got.
Caroline, you're trying to split them into 2 different days?
No,
Your budget
your
workshop.
public hearing is that one thing, one night.
Put both on
Public
the
hearing
21st?
needs to be first. And then the CIP workshop and the capital workshop and the budget workshop. You can do the capital workshop and the budget workshop directly after that, because in between that time, the groups are gonna meet. It's gonna be a shorter workshop and dial it down, bringing it here to here, costs and everything. Then we go into the budget workshop with the numbers and ideas.
Okay, so what day are you naming?
Well, we're gonna do 21st for the workshop.
The capital project workshop and the budget
Public hearing
workshop.
should be prior to that.
So the
Hopefully
12th.
and we
So
had our board
we are going to have a meeting every week then in February.
So you're okay with the 12th? Then put them both on there.
And what time?
No, just the one, just the one.
No,
The
yours has to be on
workshop,
its own.
Budget workshop and the capital projects will be on the 21st. They vary, they go in.
Okay.
I would recommend that you have the budget hearing first before you have the workshop on the goals, because the workshop on the goals is an entirely different group type of thing. And I think that the idea of amending the ordinance such that you can apply that to the new budget, because if you don't have the new ordinance in place, you'll have to continue to go to the 60/40 for another year.
That's what I was saying.
And I think you need to have a priority, either talk about the budget or talk about wannabe goals that are in the future. You could put the workshop on the goals off to the next month into April and take care of budget items.
That can't be put up.
What? It's not a priority.
We're talking about things like.
No, we're not.
Okay, yeah. Oh.
You're talking about roads and things for the
Okay, so it's.
senior health center and so on. That's not a priority at this time.
It's 30
We're talking
days
about things to
in
do with
publishing
budget
and all that.
and workshop
That's right.
together,
And this was his
and
thing
your
that he
public
talked about.
hearing, talking about your room tax on the 12th.
Yeah.
12th,
Okay.
21st.
I think you guys were on the
We're saying the same
same
thing, but
thing.
he's just.
Yeah, I don't think he heard when you were talking to Trevor.
Yeah,
Sorry.
saying the same thing.
Yep. Okay,
So date is the February 12th?
so February 12th, what
For his.
do you want? You still want the public hearing on February 12th?
I do.
Yes.
Okay, and we're still gonna do a capital projects workshop on the 21st. Well, let's do public hearing, let's just get that date done. We need to vote on it and be done.
What time?
Okay, so, we're talking about February 12th?
Yes.
Because of the day of the week, it has to be at 6 or later.
It would have, yeah, I would say at least 7 PM because we have conflicting schedules with basketball. Now, basketball does end in that week, but we don't know if they're in this building. So it's blocked after that. So public hearing, February 12th, 7 PM. We have a motion from Trevor to have a public hearing.
Yeah, do you want me to revise my
Yes,
motion?
please.
And put a time and date in place
Yes,
on
please.
it?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I don't know who my second was, but yes, I want to revise my motion. Room tax workshop.
Public hearing.
Public hearing, 12th February, 7 PM, right here.
Second.
Okay, Pat was the second. So Pat, you're agreeing taken on matters considered during this period until specifically included on an agenda as an action item. Mr. Vasa, please state and spell your last name.
John Boston, VOSTA. I had copies for each of you, the Nye County Pool Pack insurance policy. And you'll notice on the next page, it points out that the town of Amargosa is the only community in the county, and we have been reimbursing the county $25,000 annually for our proportion of the pool pack insurance. However, if you take a look at the next page, and this is a calculation, if there's a 3 1/4% increase in what we pay on the pool pack, you'll notice that the break there that you have Amargosa Town with the increase would pay $11,825, and then just below that is another payment of $978, and so therefore, with an increase of 3 1/4%, we would pay $12,803. We have been overpaying the county between $13,000 and $12,000 more than our proportion of the pool tax money. And I think what you need to do is take a look at your budget and just point it out that the other two elected town boards of Tonopah and Round Mountain have their own policy of pool tax, and I would highly recommend that you find out what it would cost us to have a pool pack for the town of Amargosa alone, because it might be down around the $12,000, $13,000 figure, and you'd save as much as $12,000.
Thank you, Mr. Vasa, for the information. It's something we can definitely look into. Lab, please state
Lab.
and spell. LAB.
Yeah, I don't know the rest of the letters, I'm sorry.
I got your name, Lab.
We do it phonetically, but I can't spell it.
Okay.
LABOSSIERE.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, Lab.
I was in there last month and I had somebody speak about the ABIA building. 10, 20, 30 years from now, that's going to be a great place for a museum, because that is where this town started. There's people that went to school there. That was this building. It was everything. Tim Jacobs, I think, is the guy that's running the thing. So I want to be on the record in case somebody knows him, that somebody needs to get a letter from the town board to him that we can tarp that building. Last December, the wind pulled the last of the tar paper off the north side of the building, opened up raw plywood. It's starting to turn black. If we might never be able to use that building, but we could always throw a building over it, make it a museum.
Right.
But if we tarp it now, we can save the walls. And another problem I got is people like Ken Gary, and we just lost Sue, and we've lost people that Paul Stewart, people who've been in Valley a long time. I would like a digital record of someone sitting down and talking to them. I know Valley Electric did something like that a while back for about electricity, but we need to sit down. We've got a camera, record it. They could sit in the office on a disc for 20 years till they build that museum, but people 20, 30 years from now should get to hear Ken Gary. I mean, I can sit there and listen to him all day. And you know I like to talk, and I can sit there and listen to Ken Gary all day. The man has had his finger in the nuclear industry from the very beginning. He's met a lot of famous people. And she went to school out here. There's a lot of people in this valley we need to talk to, and we need to get them on record so that it's not just one person's side of the story. It's everybody that we can get, you know, and that's not going to cost a lot of money. A few tarps, a letter, we can save the building, some time with the camera, someone to ask them some questions, and just let them ramble.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you, Lab.
I'd like to cap on that.
Yeah, an example, Caroline, go ahead.
I did some research. It is owned by the Amargosa Valley Improvement Association. Tim Jacobs, Teresa, Annie Bell are active members. There's only 4 active members. There was a tree
say that the roof is the beginning and the end. A lot of you are familiar with Goldfield High School. They let the roof go, and now it doesn't look like they can save the rest.
All right, guys, let's really quick make the plan for the budget workshop. You guys are talking about combining it with the 21st capital project?
Yes.
Okay. So February 21st at, what time do we say for capital project? 6 p.m.? Okay, so we'll do 6 p.m. for capital projects, and what time for, because do you need an hour?
I think it would just go right after that. I think an hour will be good because all the groups will have met before that. They'll come in with
So
information.
directly after, we will have the budget workshop
Right.
on February 21st, starting at 6 p.m.